let's go through a couple of big stories from around the NHL, starting with last night's game between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Washington Capitals. And it was the Leafs down 3-1 in the final 6 minutes. They get a JT overtime winner to complete the comeback. The game was electric, but we're giving this game a bad review, Frank, because of some maybe bad reviews. There were 3 contentious goals in this hockey game, and it had Twitter absolutely buzzing, and it sparked a lot of debate. So let's go through them here. We'll fire up the highlights and start with the Nick Dowd disallowed goal. And here's where I come out on this. He willingly goes into the crease. He makes contact with the goalie. You can argue about whether or not it actually, if Woll was going to stop that puck or not, but that's beside the point. The league can't start to call it like that. I actually thought this was the right call.
Why?
He makes contact with the goalie while he's in the blue paint. Cut and dry. That's the rule, isn't it?
Okay, so that's what the rule says, but was he actually interfered with from making the save?
He clips his blocker, and then the goal goes in blocker side.
Like, okay, so he does, his blocker does move. If you can roll it one more time, his stick does not move, and neither does any of his leg positioning. And it doesn't impede him from making the actual save. Here's where I come out on this. You're correct. You are correct that this is, by the definition of the rule, skating through the blue paint and making contact, that technically is goalie interference. To me, this should be a goal because it doesn't materially, in my opinion, impact his ability to make the save. And this is kind of where I come out with the whole video review process in general, which was another big topic of conversation at the GM meetings in Toronto on Tuesday. Colin Campbell saying point blank, how perfect do we want to make the game? This wasn't the point of video review and coaches challenge. And to be honest, just look at some of these coaches and their stats. They're close to 50-50 on whether or not they get the challenge right, which indicates to you, and by the way, last night, that was Craig Berube's first challenge as Toronto Maple Leafs head coach. We're 20% of the way into the schedule. Spencer Carberry had not had a challenge with the Caps this season. They don't challenge because they don't really know which way it's going to go. It should be cut and dry. You should know looking at it, yes, that was egregious. We shouldn't have to search for, hey, did it run it? Did he slap his blocker on the way out? That's not the point of this. It should be a goal.
So, but where I'll disagree with this, and I don't want to spend, the whole front half of the show on it. I want it more black and white. And I think if you leave open did he materially affect that's too much gray for me. Like, contact in the blue paint, no goal. I wish they would just keep that standard and
but they've done that consistently this year, and we've seen more whining than ever because it had been held to a higher threshold before. They've actually been very consistent this year. If you run into the goalie in the blue paint, in the vicinity of a save, it's going to be called no goal.
So is this maybe just a learning curve where they need to call it this hard for a while and then players will adjust?
It's a mistake. This is what I believe, that they need to readjust exactly what the rule says and looks like, because this is too much. We've gone a bridge too far.
Yeah. And the Dowd one was just the one of 3. Let's do the Matthew Knies high stick here. And this one is tough because of the call on the ice. Shot from Morgan Rielly. Matthew Knies tips it in. His stick starts above the crossbar, but then it's the argument of, okay, where was it exactly when he made contact? I view it as just below his shoulders, which is right around where the crossbar is. I do, and maybe my takeaway from this, or my take on this, should they maybe start calling it in the way that NFL referees call fumbles, where they will let it play out for a little bit, and then once they all kind of look at each other and are 100% sure, then they make the call? Like, should the ref have maybe just said, you know what, good goal, and we shouldn't be, should they lean more towards saying good goal for the call on the ice, I guess, is my question and point.
They do that already with offside.
Yep.
They pretty much anything very close, which it's a new thing this year. They're called lines persons. Lines persons have been basically just letting it go, saying, well, I'm not going to impede a potential scoring play. We'll just look at it on video review on the back end of it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think the correct call here should have been goal, unless you had that close of a perspective that you could scientifically eagle eye that from that far away in the corner. I just don't believe that's the case.
Or do we get rid of having to make a call on the ice at all in a situation like that where the puck goes into the net? Should the ref be able to say, you know what, I want another look? I'm not even telling you.
But that's what we're trending towards. It's just absolute robotic. We're losing the spirit of the game at every turn. How long did these reviews take? It was a nauseatingly long game because of the umpteen reviews. This is not the purpose of it. Gary Bettman warned about this at the GM meetings when they decided to put this in. He said, you are opening Pandora's box. He's absolutely right. We've turned this into Zapruder-like footage where you have to go and check a dangling skate blade hanging in the air on an offside call now. This is not and has never been the spirit of the game. And I think we're going down an even worse path. It's making it unwatchable. It's a channel changer.
Quickly, last one, the knee goal. Again, is this a kicking motion even though he doesn't use his skate?
This should another goal that should be good. If it hits your body on the way in, even if you're kind of propelling it, that puck, regardless of whether he moved his leg or not, by physics, was probably likely going into the net.
Yeah. I think Mike Johnson had a good point on Twitter where he kind of said like the correct call was probably made on each one. He just wishes the rules were different. I think that's kind of where most people come out on these reviews. And
then what about the penalty that we didn't even get to? Like that one was like, come on, there was no high stick there. To me, we've jumped the shark. I know that this was again a big top. No one really knows what to do. NHL GMs don't want to know what to do. They want the right call being made. I think if you were to inject truth serum into the NHL hockey operations department, they would say that this has all gone too far. We need to get this back in check.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Seravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.